The late Texas sun spilled gold across the cracked earth, stretching shadows over dry brush and brittle ground. Heat shimmered on the horizon like a ghost's breath, blurring the distance where the land met the sky. The wind, sharp and dry, carried more than dust. It carried the bitter scent of scorched leather, smoke, and something darker. Reed Dalton rode in silence, the hooves of his black gelding thudding in rhythm with his heartbeat. Dust clung to his coat, a long duster faded from sun and wear. A rifle was strapped across his back. His revolver hung low on his hip, beneath the brim of his battered hat. His eyes stayed fixed ahead. He hadn't spoken in hours, hadn't needed to. The quiet suited him. Men like him had learned long ago that silence often carried more truth than words. He hadn't meant to come back here. This stretch of land held more ghosts than memories. But rumors, half whispered over whiskey and rough maps, spoke of a young Apache woman taken by bounty hunters, dragged north toward the mountains. And something inside him, long buried beneath years of dust and regret, stirred. Her name had been Lyra. He hadn't seen her since she was a girl, brave, stubborn, fierce in ways that stayed with a man. She'd once shielded him from a bullet with nothing but courage and a wooden staff. He owed her more than he ever said. As he crested a rise, the horizon broke into ruin. What had been a quiet settlement now lay in ash. Smoke spiraled from blackened timbers. Burned-out wagons crumpled fences, and charred rooftops whispered of violence. Reed slowed his horse, jaw tight, eyes scanning the wreckage. He dismounted, boots crunching on scorched dirt. Buzzing flies circled the stillness. Bodies lay scattered, men, women. A small hand reached out from under a soot-covered sheet. Reed knelt beside one of the fallen, a rancher by his clothes, throat slashed. Not a gunshot. Too clean for that. Steel, cheap and brutal. A groan broke the silence. Reed turned. Under a collapsed wagon, an older man clung to life. Blood soaked aside. Reed pulled away debris, knelt close. They took her, the man gasped. Young girl, Apache, fought like a cornered cat. Reed's heart twisted. Where? He asked. Through the ridge, Snake Hollow. 5 of them. Vultures. The man coughed, blood trickling from his mouth. She gave my granddaughter time to run. Bought her life. What's her name? The man blinked, voice fading. Lyra. Reed stood slowly. The name hit like a hammer. As the last light bled from the sky, he remounted and turned north. He didn't look back. Every hoofbeat was a vow. Lyra was alive, and they had taken her. They didn't yet know what that meant. By sunrise, Reed had ridden through the night, the trail sharp beneath his horse's hooves. Branches snapped under careless feet. Hoofprints carved deep. They weren't hiding, too confident, too sure no one would follow. Reed knelt by a shallow creek, fingers brushing fresh tracks. 5 men. One horse lagged slightly, weighed down, likely the one dragging Lyra. A scrap of cloth caught on a thorn bush flapped in the wind. He stepped forward, picked it up, torn, stained with blood. Not much, but enough. She fought, he whispered. Lyra had always been defiant, a flame in a storm. She had given him shelter once, a half-starved outlaw boy with nothing but scars. Her people gave him bread. She gave him belonging. And now she was chained. Hunted. He would find her, or burn every trail to ash trying. The trail led him to a canyon narrow as a throat, red walls rising around him. Reed slowed, hand near his revolver. Too quiet, too still. A glint, then gunfire. He dove from his saddle, bullets tearing into the dust where he just stood. He rolled, came up behind a rock, returned fire. 1 shot, then 2. A man fell from the ridge, his scream cut short. Reed scaled the wall with a hunter's grace. The second man tried to run. Reed struck him down with the butt of his gun. Where's the girl? He growled, gun pressed to the man's throat. I don't know who hired us, the man stammered. But she's at an old silver camp, east of the ridge. They're waiting for someone from Santa Clara. A buyer. She alive? The man nodded. For now. Reed fired into the ground beside him. Tell them I'm coming, he said, voice cold. And next time I won't miss. He rode again, faster now, toward flame, toward war. By twilight, he reached a ghost town, a hollow ring of broken shacks and leaning mines, tucked beneath jagged hills. Light flickered from the largest building. Laughter echoed. He moved like smoke between shadows, found the storage shed. The lock gave way to his blade. Inside, he found her. Lyra, bound, bruised, still breathing. Her eyes widened with fear, then softened with recognition. "Reed," she whispered. He cut her loose, steadied her. "You're safe now." "They were going to sell me," she rasped. "Some merchant rich foreign will get you out. Can you walk?" She nodded, legs shaking. He pointed to a path. "My horse is tied just past the ridge. Ride west. Wait for me by the creek." She grabbed his arm. "You're not coming?" "I will, after I make sure they can't follow." Her fingers tightened. "Don't die." He smiled faintly. "I'm not planning to." And then she vanished into the dark. Reed crept to the main building, crouched beneath a window. Voices inside. "She'll fetch a good price." One man said, accented and greedy. "You'll get your gold when she's tied to the saddle." Came another voice. Reed kicked open the door. Chaos erupted. Shots fired. He moved through the room like a storm, precise, silent, unstoppable. One man down. Another wounded. A third crawled for his gun. Reed kicked it aside, pressed his revolver to the buyer's chest. "You paid for pain," he said quietly. The man trembled. "I didn't hurt her." "But you tried to own her," Reed finished. "That's enough." One last shot echoed through the ruins. Then silence. He stepped out into the firelit dark, smoke curling behind him, and rode hard for the creek. Lyra waited. They rode through the night, westward, toward the borderlands. She clung to him, weak but unbroken, when they stopped beneath the shade of a cottonwood. He helped her down, guiding her gently to rest. "Why?" she asked, voice hoarse. "Why did you come?" Reed looked away. "Because I owed you," he said. "And because I couldn't let the only good part of my past vanish." She touched his arm, her hand trembling. "Thank you." 3 days later, they arrived at a ranch tucked deep in the highlands. It belonged to Elias Granger, a man who once rode with Reed's father, a man who owed him nothing but never asked questions. Elias opened the door before they reached the porch. "Figure if I ever saw you again, you'd be bleeding," he muttered. "Close enough," Reed replied. Lyra didn't correct the man. When he called her Reed's woman, she just stepped inside. Warmth met them. A fire, bread, coffee, no questions, just shelter. That night, Lyra sat near the hearth, wrapped in a quilt. Reed leaned against the wall, watching the dark beyond the window. "You never sleep, do you?" she asked. "Not since the last war." She tapped her chest. "This one or the one in here?" He didn't answer. Outside, a rider crossed the ridge. "They're coming," he said. "Then we don't run," she replied. "We make a stand." By dusk, the house was fortified, rifles loaded, traps set. Lyra sharpened the blade, jaw tight with purpose. "They think we're property," she said. "Let's prove otherwise." At sundown, bullets tore through the windows. Reed fired from the front, Elias from the side. Lyra took a man near the corral, her aim steady, her breath calm. The attack was relentless. They held the house through smoke, fire, chaos. Then came the voice. "Dalton," a man roared. "You're holed up with our prize, huh?" Reed stiffened. "Cyrus Vane," he muttered, Malister's right hand. "You give her up, or we burn it all." Vane shouted. Reed stepped out. "I'm not giving anything to men like you." A shot rang out, missed Vane by an inch. "That's your only warning," he said. The final battle began. They fought hand to hand, gun to blade. Vane burst through the door, knife raised. He slammed Reed against the wall. "I'll carve you apart," he hissed. Reed twisted free. Steel flashed. Vane fell. It was over. By morning, smoke curled from the rafters. The world was still. Elias breathed, wounded but alive. Lyra sat on the porch, eyes rimmed with ash and truth. They buried the fallen out back, men who came for gold and found reckoning. We rebuild, Reed said quietly. Lyra nodded. We make this land ours. A rider came, dusty and wide-eyed. They're regrouping, he warned. They'll come again. Lyra looked at Reed. He nodded. Let them. They spent the next days reinforcing the home. Lyra planted seeds near the fence. At night, she and Reed watched the stars, quiet as prayer. They never named what was between them, but it lived there in silence, in shared breath, in the way their hands always found each other when the dark came. And when the wind rose again, it carried no fear, only the promise of tomorrow. The land had changed. The charred fences had been rebuilt, the windows patched, the earth behind the house tilled into rows. The scent of smoke no longer haunted the air, but something else did, a quiet tension, like thunder waiting beneath clear skies. Lyra knelt near the back fence, dirt staining her palms. Tiny green shoots pushed through the soil, life fighting to grow in a place that had seen too much death. She paused, brushed hair from her face, and glanced toward the ridge. Reed stood at the edge of the property, his rifle across his back, eyes fixed on the horizon. He hadn't said much since the shootout. Not about Cyrus Vane, not about the blood that stained their porch. But she knew him well enough to understand. Stillness in Reed Dalton meant something was building. And it was. That evening, a rider arrived. Not one of Mallister's men. Not yet, but someone worse in a different way. Marshal Lennox, the stranger said, removing his hat, out of Abilene. He was clean-shaven, polite, but his eyes were cold. There's a warrant, he told Reed, for what happened at Snake Hollow. You killed a man named Dario Santiago, wealthy merchant, had powerful friends. Reed didn't flinch. He was buying people. The marshal gave a half-smile. That may be, but in Texas, justice still wears a badge. He handed the paper to Elias, who scowled and tossed it into fire. You got a week, Lennox said. Either you come in, or someone else comes looking. That night, the house was quiet. The kind of quiet that wrapped around your throat. Lyra stood at the doorway, arms crossed. Are you going to run? Reed didn't look up. He was cleaning his revolver, slow, methodical. No, you could disappear, she said. We both could. I've run enough, he replied. They'll just chase someone else if I vanish. This land, they'll take it from you the moment I'm gone. So we fight again? He met her eyes. If we must. Over the next days, they prepared. Not like before. This time, it wasn't a gang. It was men with badges, law on their side and guns on their belts. Lennox returned once, watching from the ridge. He didn't dismount. Then, late on the 5th day, a letter arrived. Reed Dalton is to stand trial in Santa Clara. Failure to comply will result in lethal force. Signed, Judge Robert Vexley. Elias crumpled the paper. Vexley's the one who protected Mallister's buyers. He doesn't want justice. He wants silence. Reed turned to Lyra. I can't protect this place if I'm behind bars. Lyra stepped close. Then we protect it together. He looked at her hand in his, calloused and strong. All right, he said. That night, the wind howled like it remembered every cry of war. Lyra climbed the lookout tower Reed had built behind the barn. She scanned the dark, eyes sharp. 3 riders. South Trail. Moving slow. Then 5 more. East side. Not lawmen. Not locals. Bounty hunters. They were being cornered. They set traps. Dug trenches. Reinforced the barn with sandbags and timber. Lyra hid weapons in hay bales. Reed taught her how to fire the repeater with precision. On the 7th night, just after sunset, the attack came. It wasn't loud at first, just a whistle through the trees, then a single gunshot. Elias dropped one from the porch. Lyra fired next, her shot hitting a rider near the fence. Reed moved like he was born for war, quiet, fast, deliberate. He struck down a man near the barn, then disappeared into the shadows. Inside the house, they fought back to back. Wood splintered. Fire cracked. Blood stained the threshold again. In the middle of it all, Lyra heard a voice. "Bring the girl," someone shouted. "They'll trade for her." Reed froze. His rage sparked like a struck match. He stormed to the gunfire, found the man behind the voice, a lean, sharp-jawed stranger with silver spurs. Reed didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle. "I warned your kind," he said, and fired. By morning, silence fell again. 6 bodies lay in the dust. Elias was injured again, but alive. The ranch stood, barely. Smoke curled from the burned-out corner of a barn. Lyra found Reed kneeling near the creek, washing blood from his hands. "They'll keep coming," she said. "Then we keep standing." He turned to her, his face tired but alive. "This place, what we're building, it's worth it, isn't it?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. She stepped into his arms. And for the first time in years, he let someone hold him. Weeks passed. The ranch slowly healed. Elias built a new corral. Lyra's garden grew. Chickens arrived, then goats. Word spread quietly of a woman and a man who stood their ground, of a homestead where justice didn't wear a badge but came in grit and silence. One evening, a rider came with news. Mallister's holdings in the east had been seized. Judge Vexley had vanished. The war was shifting. "You're folk heroes now," the rider said. "They're calling you the Dustborn." Reed just looked at Lyra and smiled. "We're just tired folks with good land," he said, "and we'll fight for it, every day if we have to." That night, under the stars, Lyra whispered, "Think we'll ever rest?" Reed took her hand in his. "Maybe not," he said, "but I'll sleep better knowing you're beside me." The wind stirred the prairie, and far off, thunder rolled again.